I'm Benjamin Hayes. I'm an unemployed project manager, scrum master, project coordinator, and I'm looking for a job. I'm a PMP, PMI survey scrum master, and I wrote a book called GPT for All. It's telling, configuring, and using a local AI chatbot that you control. For instance, software development, artificial intelligence, project management as a whole. And I'm also interested in the truth and interested in making sure people understand about AI, artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence. Today's video is going to be a rebuttal to Sebastian Mallaby's New York Times opinion article. This is what convinced me OpenAI will run out of money, dated January 13th, 2026. I read the article, and I agree with it completely with the conclusion. However, there are multiple facts that he said in the article that are absolutely wrong about AI and Gen AI. Now, let's make sure we're clear. I never met Mr. Mallaby before, and he seems like a nice guy. He's a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, and the article is very well written. But Council on Foreign Relations and artificial intelligence are two totally different subjects, and I don't think his knowledge on AI is actually, valid or good. So, how this video is going to work is I'm going to highlight each error in his article, explain why it's an error, and what the truth is. This isn't a trolling video. This isn't a video to be sarcastic or make fun of him. There is a lot of false beliefs about AI out there. And my job is to, make sure that people understand what AI is, generative AI, and, make sure there is an understanding between what the salespeople say and what really exists. And I hope Mr. Mallaby, I'm saying that his last name correctly. I can't, I can't figure out how to pronounce it. Hopefully, I'm saying it correctly. I'm sorry if it's incorrect. And I hope you watch this video, learn some things from it, and understand, the logical problems that he has within his article. So, let's begin. First, they have learned to generate realistic images and videos, to reason through increasingly complex logic and math problems, and to make sense of toasty size inputs. That is wrong. There is no learning involved with generative AI. Generative AI or Gen AI system simply displays the next most likely character to appear in a sentence. It is a rated probability average system. It basically, imagine having all the words in the English language, and then you rate the words differently based on the likelihood of the words appearing. For images or videos, they display the most next likely pixel to appear. For complex math problems, there is no proof that I have seen that the math problems that are being solved in a complex LLM system, a large language model, or a generative AI system, is being solved without prior data about the problem within the LLM, within the large language model. All the solutions that it's coming up with are either modifications of existing problems that are in the system, or they're simply repeating what the solution is or should be. Remember, it is like a giant bingo number machine with just all the words in the English language. And when you enter a word into the AI system, it changes the rates of the word that appears. So there is no learning like we have, like you and I have. There is no way to connect new concepts together using, epistemology on how we know or how we learn. It is simply probability rated up. The next big thing will be agents. The malls will fill digital shopping baskets and take care of online bills. No. Agents are extremely unreliable. There is no motivation to allow the e-commerce companies like Amazon, like Target, like Walmart to set aside their advertising revenue to allow an agent to add goods to a shopping basket. Only way this is possible is that the e-commerce companies will get a cut of the revenue. The product the agent can put into the shopping basket is exclusive to the company. That's the only way to do it for general purpose buyers like you and I. For businesses that are using some type of conglomerate system, for governments, yeah, agent shopping is probably possible because it'd be in a contract. It would be competitive, so that's possible. But for you and I, for general consumers, no, we're not going to be able to go to ChatGTP and have it. That's not going to happen, and I'll be explaining it later. After interviewing 801 leaders at US companies, Wharton University concluded that three-quarters of the business were getting a positive return on their AI investment. Waste of money. The MIT study that was performed strictly by academia, impartially, without any private enterprise influencing the study results. The Wharton research was led by Germany Forrest, hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, partner at GBK Collective. GBK Collective deploys or implements machine learning and AI solutions. They have a financial interest in AI. Sorry, but it's not impartial. There's a motivation to support AI, and that's what the study shows. If the truth lies in the middle, this is a triumph. No, it does not. There's a value of Gen AI that's generated greater than or less than the cost. If it's greater than, then Gen AI will be embraced. If it's less than, then Gen AI will not be embraced. Currently, Gen AI is being subsidized by investment bankers, and I believe that increasing the price to even $1 a year would cause users to flee. The reason why, I'll get into it later, which is actually going to be coming up right now. People can choose among multiple free and extant models. Unless they have an especially complex and compute-intensive query, they have little reason to subscribe to the premium version. We actually can agree here on this one. Not fully. I'll explain why. When the companies like OpenAI, makers of ChatGPT, and Meta, makers of the Llama model, they don't tell you that they made some of their models for free, which can be run locally on, common mass-produced computer systems such as a MacBook Air M1, released in 2020. That's currently being sold at Walmart for $599. This can be used, for the most part, for the same purposes as chatbots that are maintained by OpenAI and other companies. Now, some people may use advanced features of OpenAI chat. Most, according to research, 48% only use it for learning and entertainment, which can be performed easily by the free models. According to research, it's unknown what work means in this context, but my feeling is that 90% of all models can be used and performed locally on the computer. Nothing needs to be sent out, nothing needs to be transmitted to a third party. Everything can be done locally on a MacBook Air M1. Which again was released 6 years ago. New machines, of course, is faster, quicker, more RAM, but still, the old technology can still run it. So, what's a point of burning all this money to OpenAI? I can see it. As well as charging for subscriptions and running ads, they could sell shopping services, home entertainment, wearable devices, and tax preparation. This is a combination of science fiction and what really exists. New technologies require a legal framework to allow the technology to operate in, and the technology must align within the laws of physics and the technology must have a market demand. Let's take each one separately. Shopping services. There needs to be demand for these services by both the commerce companies and the end user. Commerce companies such as Target, Walmart, and Amazon have no motivation to allow chatbots to have access to the databases because they will lose revenue based on advertisements. For example, Amazon sells sponsored spaces where vendors pay money to be ranked first. Same thing for Walmart, and I didn't check, but I'm sure same thing for Target as well. So why would they want to lose revenue from the sponsored spaces? I don't see the reason why. As in Amazon's case, they have their own LLM model called Nova, and if chatting shop is a viable solution to make revenue, Amazon can deploy it within their own system, within their own website, as a walled garden. Likewise, companies like Walmart and Target can also use Amazon Nova to create their own conversation shopping chatbot. So why use OpenAI and other chatbot companies like Microsoft Copilot or whatnot? Why? What's the value that they will bring? Home entertainment. I'm guessing this is on-demand generative AI TV shows that are somehow generated on demand for the viewers and entertainment. That's what it means. It's not going to work like that. According to researchers at Hugging Face, a company that provides access to open source models, every doubling of a video length requires quadrupling the amount of energy required to generate the video. For example, to create a 5-second clip, it requires 1 kilowatt of energy. A 10-second clip requires 4 kilowatts of energy. A kilowatt of energy is, we can say, running the microwave for an hour. So efficiency must be greatly increased to allow Gen AI video on demand like this. And and I'm not seeing how that's possible, and I'm not seeing how there can be a demand for it. Maybe eventually, someday, far in the future, I can't say. Wearable devices. There's actually a very well-known AI company that makes wearable devices already. That company is called Apple. Apple sells an AI device called an Apple Watch, which I have right here. They also sell devices that allow automatic photography to be edited, called an iPhone. You can buy these devices today at your local Apple store. Yeah, they exist. AI companies sell them, like Apple. Yeah, we agree, but it's not something that's going to happen in the future. It's something that's happening right now. Last one, tax preparation. I used to prepare taxes before. I did it for about 4 months before I quit because I did not support the organization. I don't support the purpose, the mission of it. So I am familiar with taxation. And it is immoral and very foolish to allow a chatbot to do taxes. And I'll explain why. According to MBO partners, there are about 73 million workers in the United States who are independent contractors. These workers are legally considered to be a 1099 employee, and they file a document called a Schedule C, which itemizes a business income and expense. What should be itemized as a business income or expense depends on the risk tolerance of the taxpayer and what they are willing to argue in front of the Internal Revenue Service if the client is audited. Some taxpayers are very conservative and they want documented proof that they can audit themselves. And the taxpayers are very aggressive. They're willing to accept the IRS may not accept certain documents if they're challenged on it. This again depends on the client and the preparer's risk tolerance to be audited. A chatbot does not have a risk tolerance since it's a rated random character generator. Now, we can definitely argue that tax law should be changed. So it's binary, so it's yes or no. But what's the probability of that happening? What's the chance that Congress is going to Wake up, smell the coffee, or smell the lack of morals and ethics, and say, you know, we really need to change the tax law. So it's, really simple, basic, and either yes or no questions. Do you really want to take any bets of that happening? I don't. My bet is that over the next 18 months, OpenAI will run out of money. Yes, 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 yes. This is one thing that you and I completely agree on. I feel that large language models, generative AI as a large industry, is actually following the path of the television. Television was invented in 1926 by John Braid, a Scottish inventor. When television was first announced in 1926, experts began talking how television would impact society, how learning can be done distantly, and if house doctors are going to go out of business because it can be done remotely through television. There were a lot of jokes, lots of discussion, lots of what if. And television was first sold in 1929. The televisions that were sold had 30 lines and requires actors to wear blue lipstick. And on the official writings that John Bird developed, it said it also needs number 2 grease paint on the face, so the face appears well on television. Over time, television resolution improved to 60 lines, then 120 lines, then 240 lines, up to the standard 480 lines in 1949. That's 20 years after television was first announced. In 1950, about 10% of all households had television. But by 1959, it was at 90%. That's according to John Market in an article in 2023. Color television itself became popular and common by the 1980s, about 20 years after black and white television became common. By, by the 2000s, 1080 resolution television high definition became common. By 2020, 94 years after television was first invented, technology, society, and the legal environment evolved to allow distant learning and television-based house doctors to become common. I can take my phone, which is far more advanced than any television released in 1929, to be able to call up a house doctor remotely using actually it's an iPhone 12 mini, using, my camera, battery screen, and we can be able to talk, and I can wave the camera around, and she can see any problems that I have, she or he, and very, very common. So is distance learning. And I feel that nobody alive today, you, Mr. Sebastian, me, my son, maybe my grandson. I'm not as old as I look, okay? I don't have a grandson, but nobody is going to be able to see or understand the impact of AI on society or on this country. Nobody alive is going to see it because the laws need to be catch up, the technology needs to be catched up. I can imagine the type of technology that might be released 60 or 50 years from now, technology that doesn't, really would make sense to somebody in the 1920s would make sense now. For example, having remote TV doctors, that requires a technology called asymmetrical encryption, where half the encryption key is made public, the encryption key is, kept secure, and that increases security, allowing, my confidential medical appointments to be kept confidential. No one else can eavesdrop on it. And without that technology, without asymmetrical encryption, that technology wouldn't exist and would be marketable. And technology like that would be completely mind blowing to somebody back in the 1920s. That's used by everyone today to go on the internet and communicate. So besides that, we agree. OpenAI is going to run out of money. OpenAI, the assets going to be purchased by Microsoft for pennies on the dollar. Um, we're going to look back on it and say, what the heck were they thinking? It might even drag down the economy a little bit, but eventually going to be forgotten about, and more technology is going to be established. And what that is, you know, I don't know, and nobody really knows. So that's it for today's video. Um, Look, again, if you want to learn more about running AI systems locally, I have a book on Amazon called GPT for All, Installing, Configuring, and Using Local AI Chat at your control. I am looking for a job. You can be able to follow me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn information is down here. I really want a job as soon as possible. And if you want me to work for you, send me a message. Send me a message on LinkedIn. We'll talk. We'll see what I can do for you. And until next time, stay safe out there. Bye now.